Major League Journeymen, we are back. Oh man, coming off a pretty spicy podcast last week. I got to kick it to my guy, the deep throat of MLS, Alan Gordon. Dude, are you breaking any news for us this week? Do you want to respond to the commentary? Where are we at? How has your week been, my friend?
First of all, please never refer to me as the deep throat of MLS ever again. Can we
I
start
thought it was a
there?
pretty appropriate nickname.
Can we not do that? Okay, listen, I I would never, I do get things wrong all the time. And I appreciate the listeners that wanted to throw that out there because it
Pointed
is
that
true.
out.
I get shit wrong. I get shit wrong all the time. I can't remember names. I can't do this. I can't do that. What I can do and what I will say about the whole thing is I'm not going to come out here and say something about the greatest player of all time, and it's not true, right? So I get it. There's a lot of emotions when you're talking about your
Dude,
idol.
you are talking about a biblical figure, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it was blasphemy. But like what I'm going to say is I'm not going to come out here and throw stones, that aren't true. I said what I said, and it happened, and you can be
Mm-hmm.
mad, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not false. We can move past it. You can handle it how you want.
Are you in
But
a therapy session right now with all of Messi's fans or what?
I'm just saying
I think the
these
takeaway here
guys.
is Gordo has been in some therapy sessions.
It's up to you how you want to receive it, and he's one of my favorites as well. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, we all say things that are regrettable, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how he feels about it, but it's the heat of the moment, and it's a match that they wanted to win. Obviously, if you're going to argue that these guys weren't out of their minds in that
Mm-hmm.
game from what
Mm-hmm.
happened post.
Just watch the video.
Watch
Yep.
the video. They're out of their minds. So they may have said something that they wanted to take back. I've
Has
been
Leo
there.
has Leo reached out to you yet?
He hasn't
Has-
reached out. I told him to contact my secretary so I could put him on the calendar. But listen, I was there, guys. I was there. I was suspended 3 games and fined 15. I was suspended more for what I said than Busquets and Suárez and all these guys put together. And I made 1.00001 of what they were making. I was fined more than they were. Okay. So, listen, I didn't mean what I called Will Johnson. I'm not going to repeat it. I was trying to kind of call him something else, was the heat of the moment, and I did it. And it happens. It happens in sports. It's not that unrealistic to believe. It really isn't.
Yeah. The we went through that, right? Not really knowing what was going to happen. And we talked about the league taking their steps and going through their process, which they do, and reviewing all the video. And ultimately, what was handed out on Friday, the League's Cup Disciplinary Committee suspended Luis Suarez, who spit on a Seattle Sounders staff member and the instigator of the fracas, 6 League's Cup games. Sergio Busquets, who looked like he punched Obed Vargas, 2 League's Cup games. Thomas Aviles, 3 games. And then Stephen Lenhart, the Sounders mental health coach, a 5-match suspension after appearing to throw some punches while in the separation. Then on Monday, the league comes out and adds additional suspensions. So Suárez gets 3 league games. So he'll miss September 13th, September 16th, and September 20th against Charlotte, Seattle, and DC, respectively. Stephen Lenhart has been removed from the coaching staff. His coaching or his credentials have been revoked for the balance of the 2025 season and has also been put in a situation where that will be reviewed after the season, whether he will be allowed back or given his credentials back. The Sounders, as an organization, has been fined an undisclosed amount.
Lot to unpack there.
There's a lot. There's a lot to start with. One of the the glaring pieces for me, I guess maybe the most glaring piece for me was that the suspensions were handed out at different times. So a Friday was the first round of suspensions, and then over the weekend, gathering, this is me taking, I guess, a bird's eye view here, taking feedback on how the suspensions were received, and then levying additional suspensions on Monday. Dax, talk me through your process in the way that you digested the initial round of suspensions, whether you expected to see more suspensions, and then how you felt after you saw additional suspensions being handed out on Monday.
My general overarching view of this whole thing, and I know people can agree or disagree to a certain extent with how everything has been handled, is that generally I feel like everything feels about right. When we see these post-game dust-ups or even in-game dust-ups, especially when it comes to soccer players, all right? Listen, we're all not Gordo, right? But we're all of us generally, we're not NFL players, we're not NBA players. We all kind of have little man syndrome sometimes, especially me. You run around, you get in someone's face, you grab a jersey, you push. There's a lot of
You're talking
handbags.
about the general soccer
I'm talking
fracas.
about general soccer fracas, okay?
Hmm.
Guess what happens when all that happens? Usually good referees and teams, look, there's a bunch of huffing and puffing, and there's a separation, and there's some words exchanged, and there's a yellow card or two handed out, on occasion a red card for maybe instigating something worse, and then you don't hear anything of it. This clearly rose to the level of much more significant than that, right? With we did see a punch thrown, and we saw some guys being wrestled and thrown to the ground. Okay, so it's a little bit, there's a little extra juice there. I feel like generally MLS and the Leagues Cup got this right. And I say that because my main concern really was the Suárez issue and situation. When it comes out, and generally, Dan, I feel like the Leagues Cup, because it is a separate entity altogether, and there is a separate disciplinary committee and a separate group making decisions. I feel like MLS was right to kind of wait and see what was levied out there while also going through their process to figure out what extra they were going to need to do. And so generally, I don't have a problem with the Leagues Cup suspensions, right? Like I was thinking Aviles absolutely deserved a suspension, Busquets deserved a suspension, and Suárez was the main culprit and the one who I think got the most heavy-handed punishment. I was just waiting for MLS to dole out some sort of punishment in the league because to me, you have to realize that Busquets and Suárez, I think the chances of them actually serving a Leagues Cup suspension are very low, right? Considering their age, considering their contract status, where they're at in their careers. Is it possible they play again next year? Sure. I don't think anyone knows but them. But a Leagues Cup suspension really doesn't hurt them. And it really doesn't hurt Inter Miami if they retire. A league suspension would, okay? And so the Suarez suspension, I was thinking in my head that anywhere from 3 to 5 games would probably be appropriate. And now it's on the lower side of that. But again, at least it's something, okay? And there is precedent for MLS doling out suspensions for guys acting up in different areas, right? We remember Petke, right? He got suspended extra games for his Real Salt Lake dust up with the referee. Clint Dempsey, I mentioned it with his dust up with the ref in the Open Cup. So
Hmm.
there's never, to my knowledge, there's never really been a spitting incident that was so obvious and widely publicized that maybe there wasn't really a precedent for this. And I stand by what I said. Spitting is the lowest of the low in terms of a physical act you can do to another person, another teammate, or another opponent, right? It's just sickening and disgusting in general. So anywhere from 3 to 5 games, they went on the lower end. Fine, I don't have an issue with it. Busquets, he could have got an extra game in MLS, I think, for the punch. But guys, let's be honest. You saw the punch. It was closed fist. It was weak. It barely connected. I think the intent was there, but it was kind of like it was kind of like how your kids roughhouse. You know what I mean? It was kind of like it wasn't like a it wasn't you didn't for me Busquets didn't get his money's worth with that. So you suspend him in Leagues Cup. Could you have given him a game in MLS? Sure. They decided not to. Honestly, I don't have a real big issue with it. I just think in general, uh, it took Miami a long time to come out and address the situation. It took 4 or 5 days for some apologies to come out. I would have liked to see that happen a little bit quicker, but at the end of the day, I don't have an issue with any of the punishment that happened.
Gordo, do you think that the league got it right?
I don't know. I don't know if they did or they didn't. What I know is there's always an immediate reaction. Obviously, we talked about it last week. There was a lot that was said. I thought it was we all had our opinions. We won't go over them again.
Hmm.
I have always been not a huge fan of big time suspensions unless it's like
Crazy.
egregious, right? So I think that they got the Suárez spitting incident right. I think his suspension is fine. I think it satisfies everybody. I think he's being punished, but I want Miami and I want those players to be a part of this league. I do. Whether they are the villains or not, I want them to have a full squad. I don't want this to ruin their season because I think that MLS has a better product with them in it. And I want them to be going full strength into a playoff run and a supporter shield run and all that kind of stuff. So I think the punishments are fine. I'm not going to be the guy that's sitting here wishing that MLS was came down on them a little bit harder with their sanctions. I think it was fine. I'm satisfied with it.
Okay, so you
So
you are okay with it. That is your opinion. You get
yeah,
paid the
I'm,
big
I'm
bucks. I love it.
no, I'm totally fine with it. I'm totally
Yeah,
fine
but
with
that's what
where
Gargs
they're
asked
going.
you.
Suspend them. Let's be done with it. It was a bad look for them. I like the fact. I got to say, Schmetzer comes out in his press conference and says Beckham was the first guy. He was sitting outside of their locker room, shakes all their players' hands. He showed enough class for that organization. I'm proud. I'm proud of my boy Bex for doing that. These other guys, I think it was a regrettable moment, but let's get past it. Let's get back to playing soccer. Let's get back to them being Miami and the villains, if that's who they're going to be, and see what they can do. And I want to see what other clubs are going to do down the stretch against them.
That sounds like two very measured, reflective answers out of you two that I think is shows the
Is that is that
maturity,
is that mature? I was gonna say, but
maturity and wisdom well beyond your expectations or my
I feel
expectations.
like that's a setup for Gargs to go in the opposite direction. So let's hear
No,
it.
I
I
hope.
what where I wanted to ask is we all saw and I think also felt very emotional responses, right? It to everything, to witnessing it happen, to the initial suspension, to the second suspension, to now having a pretty significant chunk of time to digest all of it. What I thought was interesting was alongside of this, you guys know I'm from Philly, the NFL is dealing with a spitting incident the same exact time. Jalen
Yeah.
Carter, Dax Prescott spits in Jalen Carter's
Whoa, whoa,
direction.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Dak Prescott, not Dax.
Sorry, Dak Prescott. Jalen Carter spits on Dak Prescott, and what happens is an undisclosed fine will keep it in house, no additional game suspensions. That satisfied NFL fans. This suspension and response, in a lot of ways, from the feedback that I get, did not satisfy soccer fans.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask you guys, is that because we are dealing with a villain in Luis Suarez that has no leash, no capital anymore in our minds? Had someone else done this, would there be a different visceral response to it, or are soccer fans just purely different? Is this really based on Luis Suarez?
I think
I,
that
I,
I genuinely think that it is based on the amount of games played in both leagues. Because guess what? I got news for you, Dan. Jalen Carter is not a choir boy. All right,
No,
he
no, he's
has a
not.
he has a prior history
He's also 23 or 24.
but he's got a prior history of infractions on the
Yes, he
field, off
does.
the field.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I don't think either of them have much of a leash, but I do think it goes into the fact that leagues have to take into account uh, how many games, a
How valuable a
percentage,
game missed is.
exactly how
Mhm.
valuable it. 3 games missed in the NFL is a huge deal.
Yep.
Even 2 games missed in the NFL is a huge deal. Okay. And so 3 games missed in a Major League Soccer season out of 34 is different than 3 games out of 17, right? Or whatever it is. I think they still
Totally.
play 17.
He
So
missed one.
sure. So he technically didn't even play a snap. So he got suspended 1 game. You know, again, I think it's just all about perception. I think spitting is abhorrent, and I would have liked to see Jalen Carter get another game, but he didn't. Like, I'm not going to sit there and litigate the NFL and what their policies are. I think, yes, prior history does have something to do with both of these players, but I think Suárez absolutely got a deserved appropriate suspension.
Gordo?
Well, I mean, I, I got to be careful here, which I'm typically not. I'm
Yeah.
typically not, but like I Dax hit it. Dax is he took my first point, right? It's a percentage of the total league, right?
Okay.
Of games. So, but let's just I don't think this is that controversial that like NFL players have been known to like do worse
Cross
things,
the line more.
on and off the field. There's lots of instances of like guns and
Yep.
robberies.
Yep.
There's
I mean, they got
there's more. It seems to be more extreme disciplinary issues. So
right,
Okay.
maybe
exactly.
people
So
look
So
at
I
spitting
I'm
think
as that.
walking
I,
I'm
I
walking
think
you
they're
boys
taking
into
that
I'm
into
walking you
consider.
boys into a bear trap here because now, Dax, I want you to explain the difference in levied suspensions between Luis Suarez and Steven Lenhart, who is removed
Yeah.
for the balance of the season, and Suarez misses 3 games.
I can't because to be completely honest, I don't know. I didn't see enough in video evidence. I can't walk you through what happened. And I don't think as analysts it's our job to know everything that happened and everything that occurred, especially with Lenny, because the truth is we don't see everything that happened on video or off video. So I don't know what information MLS is working with versus what we actually have to go off of, right?
Hmm.
So I genuinely don't know. I know that we know Lenny and we know, but maybe there's a difference in litigating the punishments based on your Luis Suarez as a player on the field in the heat of the action, and Lenny is someone who, I'm assuming he wasn't supposed to be on the field based on the fine that the Sounders got, right? And so based on that, it would almost be like if somebody that's not supposed to be down on the field or on the sideline jumped into the fracas from outside the state from the tunnel or something, got involved in something they weren't even
Hmm.
supposed, went into an
It's like
area,
leaving the bench in
whatever,
the middle of the
sure.
game, sure.
That's my point. So maybe MLS they look at that as worse, and you as a member of the staff, you need to be above all that. I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one for us to comment on, honestly.
Gordo?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about Lenny, what Lenny did besides, yeah, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to comment on why. I would like to know why. But when these things happen, it's kind of like an open case, where, Lenny's not going to be saying much and the league hasn't come out and said anything either. So I think they're handling it in-house. Why they did that, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. It doesn't seem justified to me. I think there was 25 guys in that scrum if you're watching just the video evidence, and so, unless something happened in the tunnel or off the
Yeah,
field, which I don't know about.
right.
It seems pretty harsh on our boy Lenny.
It's interesting because Lenny has earned the reputation of the instigator, right? Which Suarez is certainly a similar profile, not the same by any stretch of the imagination, but is not afraid to mix it up. And Lenny has had some instances where has gotten into it. So there's a history there with the league. I found it somewhat inconsistent, that a coach would get removed for the balance of the season who didn't spit on somebody that we've all kind of identified as like the most serious of the instances in this engagement, and the coach that stepped in to
Yeah,
break
but
it up,
let's but
which
also
was
but
not
also
necessarily breaking it up 100%
I
either,
mean, listen,
gets the
regardless,
balance of the season.
look at the total package. I mean, obviously, again, there's nuance here with Leagues Cup versus MLS play, but like Luis Suarez got 9 games in total. If you really want to go all in, so that's a lot of games. I think he's still, even if Suarez was 30 and he had a 5-year contract, like he would that you feel the weight of that, even if it is a different competition. Okay,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. I don't have, again, to button it all up. we don't know we don't know the extracurricular stuff that happened with Lenny. Feels harsh,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
I feel
Hmm.
like generally the MLS got this right.
Yeah, I would probably tend to agree with you, Dax. I don't think that it was a huge miss. I also don't think that it was necessarily a slam dunk either, in the way that all of it has been
You're never gonna
delivered.
please everybody. Everyone's
You're
got an
not.
opinion, and everyone's gonna be pissed one way or the other. So you just do what you think is right.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Which who is well, I guess that's kind of an easy answer. Who's most affected by this? It's clearly Inter Miami. Do you feel like this removes Inter Miami's chance of winning the Supporter Shield?
I don't. And I actually, it might be a little blessing in disguise for Inter Miami and Luis Suarez for him to be able to get some rest
Yeah.
and for them to be able to figure out, okay, if we don't have this guy for any reason, and they don't have any reason to believe he won't be available down the stretch because he's been very fit and available, even though he looks like he's running on one leg.
Hmm.
But it gives Javier Mascherano some time to tinker a little bit and figure out, okay, if we don't have Suarez for any reason, they need to figure out how to play without him, right? Because I don't think they have a backup striker. Obando doesn't play. Allende is nominally a winger. So this is a time, these next three games, for them to figure out if we don't have Suarez, how are we going to go about this in the playoffs? So I don't think it's that bad of a thing for them to be
Yeah.
missing him and for him to be suspended because we've seen Mascherano is going to ride him into the ground. He plays almost every minute of every game, and even though there are times where he looks like he's running on one leg, he's still relatively effective.
Moving from one divisive conversation to the next divisive conversation, the U.S. men's national team. Gordo, I know that you've been concerned about the U.S. men's national team, and I think, in a lot of ways, rightfully so. What you saw against Korea and the comments that Pochettino made either pre or post, or some of the players that have come out that, continue to say this isn't a big deal. We're not concerned. We're not worried. Did it move the needle one way or the other for you? Are you more concerned or are you less concerned?
Yeah, I'm more concerned.
You're more concerned.
We're losing time. We're losing time. So for Pochettino to come out and say, "Hey, we all got to be happy together and be, hey, support us, guys, be positive. Like this isn't helping us." Dude, we are stressed out as fans. We're stressed out, bro. We're watching, but this is important to us. And we watched this whole debacle of US soccer with their firing of Berhalter. Then they rehired him, and then they fired him again mid cycle. It's like, dude, like I'm sorry you've only been here for a year, but like we have been dealing with this for the entire length of the cycle. And
Uh-huh.
it's always been, hey, be patient, guys. Be positive, be patient. Dude, well, we're done. Like we want to see some progress. We want to
Yeah.
see that you have a team. We want to see that you have a plan. We want to see that you have tactics to go that fit your style of play that are going to get us some wins, whatever that means. Being, you
But
know,
does Poch need to give a shit about what you think?
no, then he needs to shut up and not address us. Like
Okay.
let it, like don't give us the please don't give us the hey, let's all be positive thing. Like you could just deal with the team, shut everybody else out. You got to create a complete bubble wrap against this team who is being ultra sensitive and responding to all the talk that we are supposed to be talking about. We care. And for us to have people that care in this country about
Hmm.
our team is it actually a good thing. And when it's not going right and we don't see progress, when I don't see progress with my 10-year-olds team, I got questions, bro. Okay. I'm paying and I'm traveling to go watch these little dummies play. And when I don't see any progress, I'm going to have some sort of reaction. I want to see something moving forward. So stop responding to analysts and fans that are passionate about this team. And you guys do you and show us something different that is going to get us excited for this World Cup.
Gordo's
Dax,
cooking. Gordo's cooking. I don't even
he
need to
is.
say he's cooking, man. I love my favorite pastime is disagreeing with Alan Gordon, and the man's on fire. He's in fuego right now. I can't disagree with him.
Ah, God,
What do
Gordo.
Who
you think,
cares? Who
Dad? What do
cares
you
what
think?
who cares what the noise is around your team?
That's what I'm
Seriously.
saying. Hey,
Why
Okay.
are you
Verlander was
addressing
actually good about
what
that.
hold on. Why are you addressing the people, the media and the fans that are analyzing what they are seeing on the field? This is not I'm more than okay with him being like, let's stay positive. I'm more than okay with him protecting his players. That I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
This is also a guy who coached in the biggest pressure cooker in the world.
Yep.
You coach Tottenham, where their fans are absolutely brutal.
Yep.
Okay? Like
Yep.
I'm spitting here. It's so fragile. It is so fragile from Pochettino. I cannot fathom how he can sit there and say, people need to stop criticizing. We need to be positive. We need this and
So
that.
are
It's
you
like
more concerned? Are you
I
more
want to
concerned
be
about
positive.
that or the way that they're playing? Which one are you
Both.
more concerned about?
I'm more it's 1A and 1B for me because he keeps referencing, or at least he did reference in his Matchday -1 press conference recently. I
Hmm.
think he either did it today or yesterday. I can't. They play. I think they play today. So they play
They
Japan
played
today.
Japan
So
today, right?
this was yesterday. He actually had like a very uh friction oriented angry press conference with media where he was going back and forth talking about how there's a plan, the players know the plan, we're happy with the plan, we're happy with the process. It's like, okay, great, I'm
Uh-huh.
happy that you're happy, but I think as someone who's been involved in the game almost my whole life, I should be able, to Gordo's point, to see some type of progress. If it was like they were playing South Korea off the park and I was like, they're getting really unlucky here, but I see patterns of play, I see great pressing triggers defensively, I see technical players comfortable in possession, I see some sort of coherence on both
Hmm.
sides of the ball. I can get past losing. I really can. We haven't seen anything close to that for his time here. We just
So
haven't.
do you think that Poch isn't equipped to do the job?
I think he's equipped to do the job based on his history, but again, I haven't seen progress. To Gordo's point, where is the progress? Like, okay, I'm fine if you say results don't matter until the World Cup, but I don't see a team that is progressing and playing with some sort of coherency in any facet of the game. In the attack, in transition and amongst the back line. I see confusion. I see nervousness. I see a lot of chopping and changing. One thing
Hmm.
Pochettino deserves credit for is maybe resetting the mindset of some of our quote unquote best players by saying, hey, listen, if you're not playing, you're not going to get called in. You need to,
Hmm.
I want to see more of the player pool. I love
Hmm.
that. Great.
Hmm.
You establish that this is your team and that you want everyone to feel like their spot is not secure. I'm more than okay with that. We don't have that much time left. Can we
But then
see can we see some
isn't
sort
that a
of
predictor, Dex? Isn't that a predictor in reestablishing that mindset and level setting, right? So getting your base back to whatever a neutral is for Poach.
again, that's
Then
fine.
don't we need to expect to see that process play out?
Garbs, it's a balance. There are going to be growing pains. I'm okay with growing pains.
Yeah,
Early in Poach's tenure, I was like, we don't look that great. We're beating the
right,
teams we should beat. We're not
right.
beating teams that are technically better than us. Okay, we have 3 windows left. Okay, we didn't have to get
I
through World
still
Cup. We didn't
I'll
have to
go
get
I'll
through
go the
World
other
Cup
side here,
qualifying.
Dax. I still think that there is plenty of time. I still
I don't.
believe that there's plenty of time.
I don't.
I
Okay, what's you, how many players right now would be in your starting 11 if you said the World Cup starts today? I want to
yeah,
see this starting 11 on the field. And how
yeah.
many times have we seen that team on the field together in Pochettino's
I
tenure?
was so I was
8 a row.
I was
Eight
thinking
in a row.
about
That's the
this.
number.
I wanted to ask you guys this because I was thinking about that. I feel like I have four players that are lock starters for the U.S. men's national team.
That
After
is a
that, I
Guards,
couldn't tell you who.
that's a problem. There
But
is
I'm not paid to make that decision. I
Who's
do
your
think
who's
that Pulch has a better idea.
your
okay.
lock
Again,
starters?
this
My
is
lock
but
starters are Serginho Dest, Christian Pulisic, Chris Richards, and Tyler Adams. Past that, I got no idea.
You're joking when you don't include Jedi Anthony Robinson in that, right? Come on. That's clearly an oversight from you.
I haven't seen him. That is an oversight. I would put him. You're right.
He's
That's
way
another
more of a
starter.
lock starter than anyone else on that team
No, no, no.
to
You're
me.
right.
So
I'm just saying
fair
I
enough.
haven't seen
What
him in the U.S. men's national team in a while. So
again,
I
We
again,
haven't seen Dest in the U.S. men's national team in
18
and what I
months.
3
saw
years.
from him against Korea, thank God he's back because he was the best player on the field for me.
Dest is not for me. He is involved in the team. He's part of our best 11 for sure. But again, like we need to see him consistently playing at a high level in order to. I don't disagree with you because this is also where I stand. Pochettino should know, at least for me, the players that he has, that he's brought in, players for the Gold Cup, players for some of these other friendlies, they are
Yep.
not better players at this point in time than who the best incumbent players are that represented us at the 2022
Yep.
World Cup and some of these guys playing in Europe.
Yep.
They're just not.
Yep.
Okay?
Agreed.
They're just not. He needs to start establishing this is my 25 to 30 players that I see as the best players for this team, and I am going to start hammering out a starting 11 and a process to get them on the field together and playing their best because I haven't seen it. That's my point. I just haven't seen enough progress on the field and in the results to be like, hey man, I'm super excited for the World Cup and I want to get excited for the World Cup. I want to praise this team. I want to praise how they're playing and what I'm seeing on the field. But how can you? How can you
I
sit there and
well,
look at
I
and
think
see anything and,
I
and
still think
say,
that
I'm
you're
excited?
picking up a lot of pieces if you're Poach. And I think
And
that
that's not all his fault. It shouldn't,
no,
it's
it's
not all
not.
his fault. He's
So
he's
and he's
picking
the
up, he came
but
in
he's
at a
the one
bad
that's dealing
time.
with it, right? So
Correct.
here's my I guess my next question, and I want to hear that from Gordo here because Gordo, you're well aware of all of the variables that go into this, right? And you got injuries, you got run of form with club, you got all the thousands of different things. Are you telling me that you feel like Poch has handled this poorly, and within all of that, you're surprised at where we are today and disappointed in the way that these things have progressed?
No, we said it when they fired him fired Berhalter mid-cycle and gave this guy that doesn't know the US
Player
pool of
pool,
players.
right?
He doesn't. Right now, what I would do, Gargs, what I would do,
Yep.
emphatically, I would fire Pochettino today. Okay, if I'm in
What?
charge, I would fire him today,
Oh my
and I
God.
would call
Come
Pablo
on.
Monster. I would call Pablo, and I
Uh-huh.
would have Pablo coach this national team in the World Cup. Nobody's
So
ever done more with less than Pablo and
That's
inspiring
hot.
players to play with
That's
him
hot.
it's a hot take.
I'd have to take my shirt off. That is
a
so hot.
1,000%.
I'm on the
Pablo,
surface
and
of
I
the
would
sun
get
right now. Woo!
Frankie Hayden.
Hate it.
Hey,
I would get all these guys that had been in it that are going to band this players together that don't need to see everybody and get. We've seen them. We know who the players are, and just pick a 23-man roster and just go and say we're going to run through everybody. And if we're not,
You're getting back to our American roots with
yes,
the
and he
the
would do that.
motivation factor.
So to answer your question, to round it out and put a bow on it, like Dax
mhm.
says so nicely, dude, he hasn't had the time. It's really hard to do when you only have selected fixtures where you can see these players. And the Gold Cup is mainly a miss because it goes back to our argument. He needed to see and start building a roster. And that's what me and Dax were
That's what
arguing.
he's doing.
He's
I
trying,
feel
but
like this is
he's
more
running
of
out. He's
our
running out of
insecurities
time,
than it is his. And unfortunately, he has shown some of his frustration with the media because of the way that he's handled some of this stuff. But we're talking about a world-class coach that we hired to be a world-class coach to come in and coach what we consider to be our crop of world-class players that have all had to deal with emotional
We don't
shit.
have. Hey, I got news for you. We don't have world class players. I'm
I
sorry,
don't disagree with you.
we don't.
Again, it goes back to our insecurities. We've been calling these players world-class players, and you know what has happened? It's been made clear that they're not. That they're not as good as we thought they were. They're not as good as they thought they were. They're not. We're just not that good. which is also okay. Now, what he has done, though, is he's taken a chunk of time that he felt comfortable with in identifying more players and getting through this process that's still given him 8 months to say, okay, here's my 25, here's my 30, and I'm going to build with this group. He found Malik Tillman, he found Diego Luna, he found Matt Freese, he found some players that are going to contribute to this group, and he's also got arguably the best crop of American players that have ever put on a U.S. men's national team shirt in the history of what we've experienced, right? You're telling me that the best coach, one of the best coaches in today's soccer culture, doesn't have enough time in 8 months to put out a product with a group of players? I find that hard to believe.
Not based on the evidence that we have seen. And I know that he was kind of dealing with a loaded deck, right? And a hand tied behind his back with where US soccer is as a whole right now. So that's why I felt like giving him some time to assess the player pool was the right thing to do. But he keeps talking about a plan and a process. And at some point, Gargs, you would like to see some remnants of what that plan and process is actually manifest itself on the field with performances. And I have yet to see any of that. So that's why, if the World Cup started today, I'm going to tell you, I am not liking our chances at all to make any noise in this World Cup. If you tell me that based on the evidence you've seen from our team right now, that you're like, when the World Cup starts, we can flip a switch and Pochettino will have these guys ready to go, I'm fully confident. I would love for you to say that because I kind of don't know where you stand on the World Cup. Because
I think here, let me tie up my thoughts. I think that a World Cup that is going to be for us, for the US, based in a lot of ways on emotion and national pride, with a coach that game plans with a very talented roster. I think that 8 months is plenty of time for him to go in and game plan 4 games to get us to a semifinal or to a quarterfinal. Absolutely. And I trust that. And I think that we have plenty of talent. Have I seen great results? Have I seen a product that I'm thrilled about? Absolutely not. I am not. But I also get that this shit does take time. And when we hired Poach, all the things that we're saying are insecurities of ours. Oh, we don't have enough time. That was there. This is calculated. So for Poach to be coming out and saying, "Hey, I do have a process. I did want to see this player pool. I don't know about the things that I don't know," which are all fair. And he has level set to a degree and also caused other players to probably be reflective and maybe take the rhetoric down a notch within their own mind. I'm okay.
Fine.
I still am okay.
I have no problem with that, and I disagree with Gordo. I think at this point it's too late to fire him. You ride with him all the way through the World Cup, but don't sit there in a press conference and get defensive for people criticizing your process and what we see on the field. You can protect your players.
Dax.
You can
That's
protect
fair.
you can protect your players, and you can say, you guys might not see it right now. I want good results, and we're not seeing good results. But my coaching staff and I are happy with what we're seeing from our players. I promise you. And he was hired to do well in the World Cup. He wasn't hired to do well in a bunch of friendlies.
Correct.
I'm just saying, based on those friendlies, we are allowed as analysts and fans to talk about what we see. And what we see is not good enough. Okay? That's where I'm at with it. And I think at this point in time, he's in through the World Cup. Unless he sits there and says, I quit. But don't patronize the analysts and the media and the fans by saying you need to be positive.
No,
hey,
I think that was.
Hold on, I want to be positive. I want to go and say. I want to go and say. Don't laugh at me. That's bullshit.
Help me, help you.
I want to go and talk about this team and be like, man, I am so excited about the form of Christian Pulisic. I'm so excited about Josh Sargent banging in goals in the championship and then still looking like a beast with the U.S. men's national team. I'm so excited about our goalkeeping and Chris Richards and the way that our team moves and it looks so fluid and our high press. I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Don't yell at me for analyzing what I see because I'm not in there with regard to the process. I am absolutely willing to say, you know what? If you're so confident that you're going to go and the results in the World Cup are going to change everyone's hearts and minds, all right. I have no choice but to trust
No,
you.
that was his miss. That was a miss, and that was clearly an emotional response. And he
Again,
has allowed it to get
protect
to
your
him.
players, protect your players, but do it in a different way.
Gordo, you are aware of who Dax and I chose for the most important cup
Great
this year,
transition. Great
the US
transition.
Open Cup. Um, Dax has Nashville. Gargs has Philly. Who are you betting on?
It's in Nashville.
Oof.
One semifinal, Nashville, Philly, and Nashville. The other semifinal,
Winner take all.
Minnesota, Austin in Minnesota.
Um, I'm gonna go with my boy Gargs. I think Philly. I think Philly's. I think they're dangerous. I just feel like they're more of a U.S. Open. More of a U.S. Open squad. A little bit more gritty. Um,
The team leading the Supporter Shield race, more of a U.S. Open Cup squad.
yeah, I mean Nashville. Hey, Nashville's good. Our guy Mukhtar is dangerous, especially at home. So it could go either way. I just think Philly deserves an Open Cup over the past, 10 years. I think they've gotten, did they win one?
No, they
No,
lost
No,
they
they
but
two
lost in the
they
finals.
final
lost two
Two
twice, I
finals,
finals.
right?
think.
Yeah, that's what I
Both
was
at
thinking.
home, I believe.
So I just think
Yeah.
it's their time. That's it. That's all I got. And they're in good form.
Dax, you still taking Nashville?
I am, and I do believe whoever wins this game wins the Open Cup.
Yeah.
I think that Minnesota is good. Austin is in decent form right now. I don't think Austin has enough firepower to keep up with any of the three teams left. I do believe it's going to be the winner of this Philly Nashville game that goes and plays against Minnesota and wins the Open Cup. I still think it's a toss up for sure. I skew towards Nashville because they're at home. And like Gordo rightly referenced,
Tough to win on the road.
Hani Mukhtar is in great form, and Sam Surridge is leading the Golden Boot race. And anytime you have players who can make a big difference in the attack, you have a chance. Walker Zimmerman's healthy, back to leading the Nashville backline. I feel like BJ Callahan has something with this team and Nashville's not in great form either, by the way, but I'm sticking with them because I do believe that you can kind of disassociate from your league form into the Open Cup. I think it'll be close, though. I do think it'll be close.
Does it happen in regular time?
Oh, I like extra time. I like extra time for these teams. I like an extra time winner for Nashville.
Interesting. I think it's all Philly. I don't think it's gonna be close. You get a weekend
What
off.
based on what evidence would you say that? Because Nashville's won both games against Philly this year.
They have. I think that it's a little bit of what Gordo is characterizing. I think that there's enough players there that feel the mission and feel the weight of the history, but also probably are revitalized by the pieces that they have, and also their form is impeccable right now. They're in really good run, and the way that they play, rest is big for Philly, and to not have a league game and to be able to stretch it out to a Tuesday and to make it the priority, I think I'm taking Philly's first choice 11 versus Nashville's first choice 11.
I think
So,
that's fair.
Minnesota, Austin. I guess you said it's in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Minnesota. I'll take Minnesota. I don't know. I'm not as bullish on Minnesota. I think they have some pieces, but I know you guys like Minnesota more than I do. I don't think they're great. I just think they're kind of above average. So, but I also, in saying that, I could see this being the emotional game for Nashville, Philly, and for them stumbling in the final by overlooking a Minnesota or an Austin. I could see that too.
Could
But
be.
I'm going Philly, Minnesota.
Nashville, Minnesota.
Philly, Minnesota. Gordo, you got a Minnesota or an Austin
Minnesota. I like the way they
on the
looked in
record?
leagues. I like the way they looked in Leagues Cup. I haven't seen too much of Austin to be completely honest, but I did like the way that Minnesota looked. So I'm going to go Philly, Minnesota.
Gentlemen, not bad out of you two today. I'll give you both an A minus. We appreciate your effort and your time and your preparation, and we'll see you again next week. Journeymen, we are out. Adios.